Kentucky was the happening place to go scuba diving or snorkeling.
In this video, we uncover shocking new discoveries beneath Kentucky's peaceful surface. Findings that could rewrite the history of America's heartland. What if everything you thought you knew about the Bluegrass State was just scratching the surface? What if ancient forces, long-lost civilizations, and mysterious geological shifts were quietly hiding in the very soil beneath your feet? This year, in 2025, a series of unprecedented revelations have put Kentucky at the center of an archaeological, geological, and cultural firestorm. We plunge deep into the rolling hills, cavernous limestone landscapes, and mist-laced forests of Kentucky, a state defined not just by bourbon and bluegrass, but by ancient mysteries buried in its hollows, ridges, and sinkholes. From the rugged Appalachian foothills in the east to the fertile Jackson Purchase region in the west, Kentucky's terrain is as varied as the secrets it holds. And now, some of those secrets are being exposed for the very first time. Could the same earth that once trembled beneath ancient inland seas now be whispering clues about prehistoric life? Could Kentucky's famous Mammoth Cave system be more than a tourist attraction? Perhaps a gateway to forgotten realms of human occupation or subterranean life forms. In this video, we guide you through these discoveries, some unearthed by accident, others uncovered through the lens of cutting-edge satellite imagery and advanced geological sensors. Scientists are stunned. Local legends are being re-examined. Museums are scrambling to expand their exhibits. Have you ever wondered why Kentucky's geology is so unique compared to its neighboring states? The answer lies in its layered limestone, ancient coral reefs now fossilized in bedrock, and the intricate network of underground rivers and karst systems that make this state one of the most geologically complex regions in North America. It's no surprise that such a rich landscape is now yielding signs of civilizations far older than once believed. As artifacts once buried beneath farmland now see the light of day, as seismic tremors ripple through the Appalachian plateaus, and as forgotten tunnels are rediscovered beneath towns with colonial roots, a question looms. Is Kentucky hiding a deeper truth about America's origins? One we've only just begun to understand. From mysterious stone formations with no clear origin, to sacred indigenous artifacts finally being honored, to eerie magnetic anomalies lighting up geological maps. These are not isolated incidents. Together, they tell a story of a state awakening to its buried power. So join us as we count down the 10 most mind-blowing discoveries made in Kentucky in 2025. Findings that blur the lines between myth and reality, science and story, nature and the supernatural. Are we standing on the edge of a new era of understanding? Or are we simply catching up to what ancient Kentuckians already knew? Let's explore what lies beneath, above, and beyond the known. Because when it comes to Kentucky, this is only the beginning. Kentucky's Archaeology Day, Secrets Unearthed in the Bluegrass. What if the most powerful truths about Kentucky's ancient past have been hidden right beneath our feet and are only now being revealed to the public for the first time? On a crisp morning in Richmond, Kentucky, something quietly revolutionary took place. What began as a seemingly ordinary university event, just another public archaeology day, has quickly become one of the most talked about cultural moments in the state. But what if this isn't just about arrowheads and pottery? What if this is the key to rewriting the entire prehistory of Kentucky? Welcome to Archaeology Day at Eastern Kentucky University, a groundbreaking collaboration between EKU's Anthropology Department and the city of Richmond that has blown open the doors of academic discovery and invited the public to step inside. For decades, discoveries made in Kentucky's soil were stored away in research archives, seen only by scholars, but not anymore. Now, for the first time ever, artifacts pulled from beneath the hills, rivers, and forests of the Bluegrass region are on full display, and the implications are staggering. Standing at the heart of this historic moment is Dr. Elaine Patterson, the driving force behind EKU's anthropological renaissance. Holding up a weathered projectile point, still speckled with earth, she tells a silent story, one etched in stone by people who once thrived here over 1,000 years ago. Could this simple object be a direct link to a forgotten civilization? Surrounding her are tables filled with treasures, flaked stone tools, pottery fragments bearing ancient designs, maize remnants charred in fire pits, and ceramics marked with symbols whose meaning we still don't fully understand. Children mold their own clay replicas nearby, while elders lean in to share local oral histories passed down through generations. Students crowd around interactive tablets, digitally mapping dig sites that are still yielding surprises, with every layer uncovered. But what truly electrifies this moment isn't just the volume of discoveries, it's the story they tell. Kentucky's ancient people weren't just wandering bands of hunters. They were builders, traders, and innovators. They built semi-permanent settlements. They cultivated the land long before modern agriculture arrived. And they forged networks of trade and communication that stretched far beyond what we once imagined, linking the Appalachian Plateau with distant peoples of the Ohio River Valley and even beyond. How did we overlook this for so long? Why were these people left out of the grand narratives of America's ancient history? The geography tells part of the story. Madison County, where this event unfolds, sits at a crossroads of ancient migration routes and resource-rich lands. With its fertile river valleys, karst-rich bedrock, riddled with hidden caves, and proximity to both the Appalachian Mountains and the interior plains, this region was an ideal place to settle and thrive. And now, the evidence is undeniable. Decorated stone suggests ceremonial significance. Burn pits reveal diets that included maize long before it was assumed to be widespread. Stone tools made of non-native material point to trade networks that could stretch hundreds of miles. This isn't just archaeology. It's the resurrection of a civilization we're only beginning to understand. Could Kentucky hold one of the richest untapped prehistories in the United States? Could this be just the beginning of a wave of discoveries that redefine who the first Kentuckians really were? Join us as we uncover the hidden origins of the Bluegrass State, a story told not in textbooks, but in stone, soil, and memory. Because sometimes the past doesn't whisper, it waits for someone to finally listen. Ancient survival, the genius of Kentucky's first peoples. How did Kentucky's earliest residents thrive in a landscape riddled with challenges? Findings presented at Archaeology Day, alongside recent excavations, suggest the answer lies in an exceptional understanding of nature. These people, through generations of observation and experience, learned to recognize and respond to the land's rhythms. Archaeologists working along the Kentucky River are uncovering sites where repeated orderly use of campgrounds is evident. Strategically placed fire rings appear in layers, some reused across generations. Remains of game animals in storage pits, preserving charred corn cobs and hickory nuts, suggest a diet and strategy finely attuned to environmental cycles. The evidence points to far-sighted planning, including long-term food storage and knowledge of local plants and medicines, indicated by microscopic residues found on stone tools. When drought, flood, or harsh winters arrived, these ancient Kentuckians didn't just endure, they adapted. Skills and observations passed down over time allowed them to harness wild roots, track animal migrations, and manage resources sustainably. Community elders draw parallels to these ancient practices, underscoring a respect for the land and balanced coexistence that modern science is now confirming through fieldwork and analysis. As Dr. Patterson remarks to a gathered crowd, true wisdom is adapting to the land, not conquering it. Kentucky's earliest people had an enduring connection to this place, a lesson we continue to rediscover in every artifact and sample. The ongoing work begs a timely question. The mysterious replications of the Ark of the Covenant amid Kentucky's tangle of history and legend is a lesser-known thread, the tale of attempts to construct replicas of the biblical Ark of the Covenant. While this narrative might seem fanciful at first, local records and oral accounts confirm that several such replicas were made, inspired by Old Testament descriptions and fueled by religious devotion, curiosity, or kind of community storytelling. Interest in these Ark replicas has resurfaced at local heritage meetings and educational exhibits, though there is no evidence that these artifacts have historical roots beyond their creators' intentions. Parish and museum records document objects built with careful reference to scriptural dimensions, using locally available materials in attempts to approximate acacia wood or gold plating. Some accounts hint at rituals, celebrations, or processions involving these manufactured arks, especially during times of crisis or community gatherings. One journal, dating to the early 20th century, describes a replica ark carried during a flood as both a symbol of hope and an act of faith. While the boundary between religious artifact and playful homage is sometimes blurred, what is clear is the enduring capacity of biblical stories and folklore to shape community traditions in Kentucky. These Ark replicas are best understood not as ancient relics or evidence of lost civilizations, but as vivid reminders of the ongoing role of story and faith in Kentucky culture. The artifacts, where extant, stand as testaments to the ways people reinterpret sacred history to meet local needs and aspirations. While this narrative might seem fanciful at first, local records and oral accounts confirm that several such replicas were made, inspired by Old Testament descriptions and fueled by religious devotion, curiosity, or kind of community storytelling. Natural disasters. Kentucky's geological shockwaves. Not all of Kentucky's mysteries are born of human hands. The state's landscape bears the signature of dramatic natural forces, ancient earthquakes, and changing geologies that scientists are still working to unravel. Recent studies, made possible by technologies like LIDAR and deep core sampling, have highlighted long-ignored signs of geological unrest in what many assumed was a stable region of North America. In southern Kentucky, remote mapping has revealed traces of ancient fault lines running beneath agricultural land and forest. By extracting and analyzing sediment from deep underground, geologists have identified signs of significant seismic activity, thousands of years old, visible in jumbled layers of rock and sudden deposits far below modern soil. These investigations challenge assumptions of Kentucky's geological tranquility, revealing a history punctuated by earthquakes and other upheavals. Elsewhere, scientists exploring the Red River Gorge found layers of unusual, glassy rock and ejecta buried within stream banks. The composition of these deposits suggests connections to either ancient volcanic activity or meteor impact, though the precise source remains a matter for further study. In both cases, these features point to episodes of sudden environmental change, perhaps explaining overlooked shifts in ancient plant or animal life discerned through pollen records. Though Kentucky today isn't known for volcanoes or catastrophic earthquakes, this new research is a vivid reminder that beneath its rolling fields lies a record of powerful, sometimes violent events. These findings encourage ongoing vigilance and a renewed sense of wonder at the state's understated geological legacy. Tsunami shadows, hidden evidence along Kentucky's waterways. Although Kentucky lies far from any ocean, the history of its waterways may be more dramatic than once imagined. Recent sediment analysis along sections of the Ohio and Kentucky rivers has identified curious deposits. Thick, fine-grained sand layers interspersed with marine microfossils and sharply defined, chaotic debris fans. These features aren't typical of ordinary river floods, but rather resemble the traces left by sudden, powerful water surges seen elsewhere in the world. Core samples from old floodplains near Louisville and Paducah show sediment layers that could indicate a massive, singular water event, perhaps the result of a prehistoric flood triggered by landslide, earthquake, or other forces, rather than a true oceanic tsunami. Complementing these findings, local oral traditions from families with deep roots in the area recall stories of catastrophic river floods, the day the rivers devoured the land, featuring tremors, raging water, and the loss of entire settlements. While scholars have yet to confirm the exact cause or date of such events, and no direct evidence ties them to ocean-driven tsunamis, the convergence of geological and oral records is striking. It suggests that Kentucky's rivers have experienced episodes of destruction on a scale rarely appreciated, and that the lessons of ancient floods still resonate today, in story and in science. Buried halls and banquets. Kentucky's lost feasts recovered. If you want to understand a community, look to the remnants of their meals. Archaeological digs around Richmond and in western Kentucky have revealed compelling evidence of communal feasting traditions extending far into the past. Beneath layers of soil, researchers have discovered compacted bones, ash, and burnt cookware, testifying to large gatherings where food was shared, alliances forged, and traditions enacted. Particularly at recently excavated sites, the remains of deer, bison, and smaller game are found alongside carefully crafted stone and bone utensils. Beyond mere subsistence, these feasts display careful selection of resources, prime cuts for celebration, lesser cuts preserved for times of need. Soil analysis points to the use of wild plants, aromatic berries, and leeks, flavors still familiar in regional cuisine. Decorative pottery fragments, incised with stylized patterns, lie amid the detritus. Storm clouds, deer, and perhaps flames echoing both the real and symbolic aspects of these gatherings. Archaeologists interpret these features as signs of planned communal events, possibly seasonal, possibly ritualistic, involving families from across the region. The social importance of such gatherings is underscored by the discovery of personal objects, a carved bone adorned with shell beads, perhaps a festive token or a mark of status within the group. These findings reveal Kentucky's ancient societies as resilient and deeply communal. Storm clouds, deer, and perhaps flames echoing both the real and symbolic aspects of these gatherings. Archaeologists interpret these features as signs of planned communal events, possibly seasonal, possibly ritualistic, involving families from across the region. The social importance of such gatherings is underscored by the discovery of personal objects, a carved bone adorned with shell beads, perhaps a festive token or a mark of status within the group. These findings reveal Kentucky's ancient societies as resilient and deeply communal, using feasting not only to survive, but to sustain social ties and cultural continuity. The remains serve as a reminder that the roots of hospitality and kinship run deep in Kentucky's history, connecting present and past through the universal language of sharing food. The Forgotten City, legends, maps, and new evidence. Few local legends have stirred as much debate as the supposed lost city somewhere beneath Kentucky's tangled central woodlands. For over a century, stories have persisted about elaborate earthworks and ancient ruins, supposedly rivaling those of neighboring states. But mainstream scholars have long been skeptical, attributing such tales to imagination or misinterpretation. Yet 2025 brought a new chapter in the investigation. Amateurs and professionals alike, leveraging drone surveys and accessible ground-penetrating radar, uncovered geometric landforms near the Kentucky River Basin, rectangles, circles, and complex undulations consistent with known Mississippian or Hopewell-era earthworks in the region, overlaying colonial-era maps which occasionally referenced strange ruins and ancient paths. With new digital data has revealed potential alignments stretching hundreds of yards. Artifacts found in these areas include shaped stones, worked copper items, and rare shell jewelry, offering tantalizing clues to the site's function and origins. While no definitive city layout or centralized burial ground has yet been found, the cumulative evidence supports the idea that a large, organized settlement or ceremonial center once flourished here. The absence of some expected features leaves the story open, but ongoing excavations and community involvement have sparked renewed hope for a better understanding. Though some details remain elusive, the work underscores how new technology, community engagement, and careful scholarship can bring credibility to local traditions. The emerging picture is of a Kentucky prehistoric landscape, richer and more complex than conventionally believed, raising questions about trade, migration, and even the impact of sudden environmental change on ancient peoples. Political winds and their shadow over discovery. No discovery unfolds in a vacuum. As Kentucky's archaeological and geological revelations drew increased attention, the political landscape played a defining role. In a year marked by administrative change, both state and national leaders took fresh interest in the preservation and interpretation of Kentucky's history and natural resources. Federal and state funding expanded for mapping, environmental studies, and public education, often in collaboration with local and tribal officials. These investments were widely welcomed by research teams and educators who saw unprecedented support for their work. Yet, as with all public initiatives, concerns emerged about the influence of politics, both in terms of priorities and the framing of Kentucky's evolving narrative. In an age where historical interpretation can shape identity and policy, local stewards, preservationists, and tribal representatives advocated for transparency, collaboration, and respect for the state's diverse heritage. The energy unleashed by these discoveries invigorated conversations about who owns the past and how it is shared. Headlines spoke not only of new finds, but also of the tensions and opportunities inherent in public history, prompting renewed dialogue among scientists, community leaders, and storytellers about the best pathways forward. A land of foreboding and promise, Kentucky's unfinished story, from layers of ancient debris to the faint etchings of prehistoric campfires, from stories of legendary arcs to the scars of forgotten quakes, Kentucky's recent year of discovery has reanimated the dialogue between land and people. More than just a litany of artifacts or dramatic geologic events, these findings renew a sense of awe, a recognition that every valley and forest conceals the legacies of those who came before, and that new understanding is always within reach. Kentucky's enduring lesson is not in the singular find or the rare artifact, but in the interplay of human ingenuity, resilience, and community woven into the earth itself. Today's excavations reveal as much about contemporary needs for connection as they do about ancient strategies for survival. The echoes of legends keep local faith and curiosity alive, while discoveries of old disasters and settlements challenge us to rethink stability and permanence. As scientists, students, and citizens gather around newfound hearths or pore over old maps, one truth persists: every answer leads to new questions, and Kentucky's greatest stories may yet be those which lie beneath and between the ones we know. What secrets are still entombed in its hills and waterways? Which new perspectives on nature, history, and belief will emerge as study and exploration intensify? Tell us which Kentucky discovery fascinated you most. If you're eager for more adventures into the unexpected, be sure to share your thoughts and stay connected, for this state's oldest mysteries remain unfinished, and the next revelation could change everything we thought we knew. No matter where you are, keep listening and looking. In Kentucky, as in life, the most profound stories are the ones whispered just beneath the surface.